Welcome back to the Journey to Growth podcast. I'm Jenna,
And I'm Samantha.
and today we're going to be talking about cognitive dissonance and euphoric recall and how they intertwine together. To break down cognitive dissonance, essentially what it is it's holding on to two completely opposing thoughts and sitting in that discomfort of not knowing which one is true and which one to believe because you're holding both.
With regards to an abusive relationship, it's I love this person so much, and this relationship is so meaningful for me. And also, I'm being abused, and the bad parts are really bad.
Yeah, like in the relationship, you could be remembering the love bombing stage that we talked about in our last podcast, the cycle of abuse. You can be remembering the love bombing stage and how amazing it was, and your perception of that person at that time and who that person was, or at least, the mask they were wearing and who they wanted you
Mhm.
to see. And then you have the perception of the abuser when you've gone through active abuse. Maybe you're still in it, or maybe you're in the reconciliation phase, and knowing that that person is abusive and absolutely terrible to you, but you can also see the person that love bombed you and
Mhm.
holding both of those images of that same person.
Yeah. You can just imagine how much brain power that takes up to hold both of those things at the same time, and the mental ping pong that happens
Exactly.
going back and forth in between both of those. Like the love is the love is there, right? Because I've seen it before. It was real, it happened, and then now there's this happening, and I'm so confused. What do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And it
Yeah,
is exhausting. It's
absolutely.
absolutely exhausting to have that. You said it perfectly, the mental ping pong, the
Yeah.
back and forth, and the trying to rationalize and the trying to make sense of it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
through research, we now know that not only is cognitive dissonance experienced in the mind, but it's a physical sensation. It
Yeah.
is physically uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. And there's four ways that we try to mitigate this within our mind. We can try to change our thoughts.
Mhm.
We can try to change our behavior. We can try to add new thoughts, or we can trivialize, like it's not that big of a deal. Just don't worry about it. And in my case personally, that's what I ended up going to, because that was the after so long of going through the cycle, it was like a giving up and just trying to push it away and bringing back in the this time it has to be better, and just holding on to that hope and trying to push away the bad part
Mhm.
whenever it gets good again.
Yeah, and as a survival instinct, we do that. We push away the bad memories when we're in those good parts. It's called euphoric recall. And it's not something that's conscious, it's something that our bodies do when we're in survival mode to try to keep us safe. And
Yeah.
essentially, what it is when you're in those good moments, you have trouble or you actually can't remember the moments of abuse.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you're so focused on the good parts and what's happening in the moment when it is good that you're completely forgetting that 2 days ago you were in active abuse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. 2 days ago, this person was yelling and screaming at me and calling me names and putting me down or giving me the silent treatment or any number of things.
Mhm.
But because now here's this other person back, so I can close my mind off to the bad parts and just let's just soak up the good while it's here.
Exactly.
So circling back to the four steps, maybe we can dive into each of them a little bit deeper and maybe give an example of each of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The first one being wanting to change thoughts.
Yeah, like, you have the two thoughts of I've seen the love that I can get and
Yeah.
I'm in abuse.
It could be like this isn't abuse. It could almost be like kind of gaslighting yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, no, this isn't that bad, or other people have it a lot worse, or even
Mm,
he doesn't hit me.
yeah.
He, they, she.
Yeah, changing the thoughts of, I've seen the love bombing, or I've seen the love that this person can give, and I've seen how amazing they can be, and I'm in abuse, I was abused. Changing that thought to, well, it must not be abuse because they're so lovely, they can be so lovely, so this isn't abuse because of that belief. I want that one to be stronger.
Yeah.
So changing that thought. And then next we have changing the behavior, and what that could look like, because obviously you can't change their behavior as much as we have all tried in
Mm-hmm.
the instance, but you change your own behavior. So if I don't ask them to do the dishes and do it myself, maybe they won't be abusive. If I walk on eggshells and don't piss them off, maybe I won't be abused. So you try and change your behavior to change the outcome, so that that cognitive dissonance will go away, so that those two opposing thoughts will go away. The thought of
Yeah.
I'm being abused
Yeah.
will go.
Yeah. If I be extra attentive, what else is there?
Well, there's so
Yeah.
much.
There's so much. If I be extra attentive, if I ignore the abusive behavior, if I try to like
Mhm.
not react to it, or what if I try talking to them about it in a different way? What if I like I had a zillion counseling sessions about like how to make it better and like try to come at it at different angles, like use nonviolent communication, do this, do that, be gentler, be more assertive, be this, be that. Nothing worked.
Of course not, because it was one-sided.
Yeah.
I went through the exact same thing. I went through countless counseling sessions trying to figure out how to communicate effectively. I read books about
Yeah.
divorce and we weren't even married.
Hmm.
How to avoid divorce. I I did workshops. I did so much to try to
Hmm.
save that communication and to be a more effective communicator. I changed so much of my own behaviors based
Yeah.
on that person's feedback, thinking that if I do that, this will go away. If I change that behavior, this will
Stop.
go away.
And
But
then I'm going to
it,
get that loving person back. The
exactly,
dissonance of the bad is going to go away and
it's
everything
all
will
going to
be
be,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that's not the case. And the more and more that we change our behavior, the more and more of ourselves that we lose, and we just give a little piece away. Like, okay, if I just be less like this, if I less of this, less of this, less of this, and it just puts you further and further into becoming a shell of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And third, we have adding new thoughts.
Mm. Yeah, and what comes to mind when we say adding new thoughts is, well, she, they had a adverse childhood. They had a
Mhm.
bad day at work today. Well, they just got fired, so of course they need somewhere to give that energy to,
Mhm.
and we take it. We just take
Yeah.
it. Yeah, adding thoughts almost as permission for what they're putting you through,
Yeah. Trying to rationalize it.
trying to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just trying to make that mental ping pong stop.
Yeah, trying to
Yeah.
get some form of rest.
Hmm.
And that brings us into the last one, which
Yeah.
is trivializing or minimizing.
Hmm.
Well, it can't be that bad. It's not that bad. It's not abuse. He never hit me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other people have it worse. And you said in the beginning, it's like we're gaslighting ourselves. Well, that's exactly what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. When all of these things compound,
Mhm.
it you start to do it to yourself.
You do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true.
And that can stay even long after the relationship is over. And it takes work to unpack all of that.
Mhm. And patience with yourself.
Patience, compassion.
Mhm.
when all of that shame comes up about like, why the fuck am I still feeling this way, reacting this way? Why am I still having these thoughts? Shame can't survive in a compassionate environment. It's very, very important in those moments to give yourself compassion.
And if you can't, seek out compassion.
Yeah.
Find a counselor that will work with you on your shame.
Yeah. A helpful tool that I found in working with shame is to notice when it's coming up. And if it feels too big to do anything with it, just acknowledging it. Just, hi, shame. Welcome back. And over time, it can get easier to welcome it in and to feel it and allow it. But we all have to start somewhere. And noticing it and acknowledging it is a great first step.
Absolutely. I love that. It's so true. So we've talked about what the natural coping mechanisms are with cognitive dissonance, but there really is only one way to fully stop it, and that is to remove the inconsistency. And, you know, I don't say that thinking that it's a light thing to do. I know how hard it is to remove that inconsistency, because in the example that we've been giving, removing that inconsistency means removing yourself.
Yeah.
And as we know, statistically, it takes 7 tries for a victim or a survivor to leave an abusive situation. And we've both been there. We both know how many attempts it can take.
Yeah, because it feels absolutely soul crushing. When you're trauma bonded to somebody, you are so completely enmeshed with this person. The thought of leaving feels like you would be ripping part of your soul away.
Completely.
It's not a decision that's decided upon lightly.
Absolutely. And when you've given away so many parts of yourself trying to mitigate this cognitive dissonance, to try to mitigate these two opposing feelings, you've given away so much of yourself that if you peel that part of you away too, that bond, which is actually a trauma bond, but that bond away, you'll feel like you have nothing left.
Yeah.
You could feel like you have nothing left.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and we acknowledge that, and we've been there.
Yeah.
And we're here to support people going through that.
Yeah. It does get better.
It does.
It sounds so cliche to say, but with time and healing and therapy and support systems and connections and community, you can find yourself again. You can start fresh. You can begin again. There's a much more beautiful life waiting for you on the other side.
And we're walking proof of that.
Yeah.
Join us next time when we talk more about trauma bonds and get deeper into why it can take up to 7 times to leave an abusive relationship.
Thank you for joining us.
Until next time.
Bye.